Welcome back. Oil prices are higher this morning. Take a look at where crude stands, under $70 a barrel, but still up 0.2% at $69.58 right now on crude. President Trump is vowing a 25% tariff on any country purchasing oil and gas from Venezuela beginning April 2nd. The Treasury Department also extending Chevron's wind-down license to produce oil in Venezuela now until May 27th. Joining me now is Continental Resources founder and chairman Harold Hamm. Harold, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, it's always good to be with you, Maria. Thank you.
I want to get your take overall on what's going on in terms of this policy, new policy coming out of the Trump administration. But first, let me get your reaction to this situation in Venezuela. President Trump is cracking down on Venezuela and putting additional tariffs on countries that are doing business with them.
Well, it's about time, the previous administration, every time they wanted more oil, they called Maduro instead of calling the producers here in this country, which was pretty ridiculous. So anyway, you look at a couple of these countries, Iran and Venezuela, and it's the very hot spots of terrorist activities. So, everybody understands that, and something's got to be done about it. We've seen recently, we came out against the Houthis with a kind of an initial attack. Well, the Iranians certainly have them as their proxy in all these battles. So, I mean, you take care of them and you take care of a lot of the problems.
Yeah. Let me ask you about what's going on in Turkey, Harold, because I know that this was at one point an important point and place for Continental Resources in terms of your joint ventures. We're seeing massive unrest in Turkey. They are banning short selling. What are your thoughts in terms of what's happening today in Turkey and the impact to the oil business?
Well, it's somehow unsettling for sure, but that's what goes on in these third world countries, when you're non-democratic or, some degree of democracy exists there, but not enough. But, that's the same thing that was tried here against Trump. You lock your opposition up in jail and take care of them. So, that's kind of what everybody's seeing. That's why everybody's protesting. It's not the right thing to do, of course. But anyway, it'll work out. That's kind of what goes on. And you have to ride it out and see how it takes care of itself. But Turkey...
So it sounds like you're not worried. You're not worried about these protests and these people taking to the streets to protest against the leadership there in Turkey.
I'm not. Turkey's one of the more stable countries in the Middle East, and so you just have to wait those things out and see how it takes care of itself. But it's a fairly stable administration situation over there, even though you have these active protests right now.
Great to know. Your thoughts further on the Department of Energy postponing the implementation of 3 Biden-era mandates on home appliances set to lower costs for American consumers. The delays include test procedures for central air conditioners and heat pumps, efficiency standards for walk-in coolers and freezers, efficiency standards for gas water heaters. I spoke with Energy Secretary Chris Wright on this program about that America First agenda, and I want to get your reaction. He joined me last week. Watch.
Well, once we swing back this pendulum to common sense on energy and focused on the American people first and not some sort of political agendas that don't work so well for the American people. People have lower cost energy, more job opportunities, and a little bit more common sense. We're the team of expensive energy. We want to go back to making things inexpensive and pushing industries overseas. The attitude and the focus on the American people first, I think that'll become infectious. And those blue-collar jobs that are well-paying and critical to our communities have been exporting our country. President Trump wants to bring them back. We want to reindustrialize America, bring jobs and opportunity along with clean air and clean water right here in the United States.
Harold, I'll be speaking with the Secretary again tomorrow. Chris Wright will join us in the 8 a.m. hour tomorrow. But one question that I asked him, Harold, was the president has done so many executive orders with regard to energy and unlocking energy capacity in the country. But what does Congress need to do to codify those executive orders into law, Harold, so that these are long-term laws in the books so that you can be having a confidence that you're putting money into the ground for these long-term projects and the law doesn't change on you?
Well, I think they'll be codified in this upcoming reconciliation bill. So, you know, there's so much that he had to do, that's for sure. But basically, it's offsetting what had been done already. What the Biden administration, how far left they had gone, basically to put us out of business and take, put energy in a real bad spot in America. So what's being done? Trump's correcting all that, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of things that he had to correct that need to be done. Thank God we've got Chris Wright, Doug Burgum, these folks in there that know energy, know what to do, and are getting it done. And so, and as well as Donald Trump. So it's being corrected, and we've got the right people doing the job, and it will be codified.
And of course, as we always say, the policy around energy is not just economic, but it relates to national security. And that is a point that we cannot make enough. Harold, you've got a new op-ed for the Washington Times on strengthening America's energy future. And you write this: we've gone from energy dependence to energy dominance, proving that drill, baby, drill was more than a slogan. Now it's time for the next phase of our energy future, build, baby, build. Harold, what's your energy outlook under this second Trump administration, and where do you want to build?
Well, we have so much to build. It's basically getting LNG back going, and they've done that. They freed that back up. But, pipelines, that's another thing that has to be done. And so that has to be there. We only have a couple years to get a lot of this done. So it's time to build, baby, build. A tremendous amount of infrastructure. We have to meet the demand for AI. We've got a big summit coming up at the Hamm Institute for American Energy here in Oklahoma City, April 24th. And Chris Wright will be here in Oklahoma City. And we talk about the demand that's coming from AI. It's a tremendous amount of demand, and we have to meet that. And so anybody who wants to know anything about AI and its effect on energy and natural gas in America needs to be there. Natural gas is going to be the dominant fuel for AI, and we have to meet that demand. So it's a big deal coming up April 24th.
Well, it sure is, and I know that you'll be making news at that summit that you're referring to, Harold, but characterize how the demand changes with regard to AI and the need for energy for these data centers. How different do you think the demand equation is today than perhaps 5 or 10 years ago?
Well, it's totally different. I mean, always thinking about at that time was supplying household needs, domestic needs, with natural gas. Today, you're talking about heavy industrial load and what we call behind the meter. And you've got to have redundancy for these data centers to work. And so it takes 2 or 3 different types, perhaps, of energy to do it. But natural gas is going to be the dominant one. Nuclear, yeah, someday, but it's down the road a ways, and everybody realizes that. Today, it's natural gas. And thank God we've got a lot of it here in America.
And do you have a confidence that we have that natural gas here in America?
Sure do. With their summit that we had here in Oklahoma City a year and a half ago, basically it's easy to say we've got a 100-year supply. And through that summit, we determined we definitely got a 100-year supply of natural gas. So it's here, and as a geologist, I recognize that it is here. And it's great for America.
That sure is.
And the rest of the world.
Yes,
and
exactly.
the rest of the world.
Nice to get back to becoming an exporter of natural gas as well.
It certainly is. And we're sending the clean burning energy around the world today. So that's good. It's offsetting more dense fuels.
Harold, great to have you this morning. We so appreciate your time and your leadership, sir. Thank you.